everyone, and welcome to this podcast today. We're going to be talking about bold predictions that are coming up for this upcoming NBA season. I'm joined here today with Kyle Russell, a notorious Miami Heat fan, and also a basketball doctor.
Aficionado of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. My name's Blake, and let's jump into this. So today we're going to be talking about 5 bold predictions for the upcoming NBA season. 5 from each of us. Kyle, as co-host here, I'm gonna let you go first.
Very much appreciated. All right, starting this one out, I'm gonna go with talking a little Orlando Magic. One of the, they've been stuck on the treadmill of mediocrity for quite a while, but I'm thinking that with building off last season's success with their defense, and they got some good young players. They also added in Markelle Fultz, who had a bit of a hard time with the jitters in the 76ers. But I think on the Orlando Magic, he can settle down with the lowered expectations and help to lead them comfortably to a playoff spot.
Right. With being the number 1 overall pick, I feel like that has a lot of strain and pressure on you. Me and everyone else, we don't really understand what his shoulder injury exactly was. But seeing him on a new team, absolutely. I mean, his marketability is there. The raw talent that he had and showed while he was in college is still there. That stuff just doesn't go away overnight. And for Orlando, having a young point guard to be able to have that much raw potential talent is, I think, really exciting for their franchise. And I could definitely see them becoming a higher seed in the playoffs rather than just kind of barely sneaking in like they did last season.
Completely agree.
Yeah, exactly.
What you got?
So my first bold prediction is the Hawks are also going to make it into the playoffs. Trae Young, remarkable rookie. I'm just going to come out and say it. At the beginning of the year, when he was drafted, before the season even started, I made it public that I was not really fond of his play style at the time. Being a West Virginia basketball fan, watching a lot of Big 12 basketball, and he played for Oklahoma. He struggled a lot on press coverage. Not only when it was just him being pressed, but his whole team as well. So it was harder for him to get looks. It was hard for him to play that traditional point guard style mixed in with the current NBA, being able to shoot the 3 as well. And honestly, I knew he was going to be a great point guard eventually in the league, but not as fast as he excelled when he did his rookie season. I mean, he did finish with 30% from 3, but I mean, the kid was almost averaging 20 points a game and 8 assists.
Yeah, and you also got to look at it from how does his three-point shooting progress throughout the season.
Exactly. And this isn't just Trae Young's team. You got a bunch of young guys in there who I see kind of like the Nuggets running it back with the same squad. And I don't think they're going to be playing for a lottery pick this year. I think they're going to be aiming for 7th or 6th seed in the East.
Oh, yeah. So, being a Miami fan, Atlanta's in our division. I saw us play 4 games with them. And I could definitely say I see exactly what you're talking about. Last year was definitely, all right, let's see what we have young piece-wise. And they run a relentless pace. And Trae Young he blossomed like within one season. It was amazing. I mean, he definitely deserved. I think he finished 2nd in Rookie of the Year voting for good reason.
Right.
Yeah, I have them kind of thinking the same as you. I don't think they're going to be playing for lottery picks next year. I think they're going to try to make the playoffs, even if it's just a low seed, just to try to get some of that experience. My only big concern with them is their defense. They have the pace, they have the youth, they have the offense. It's just, are they going to be able to play well enough with the defensive end to really cement that seed?
Right. And with young squads, defense usually is a problem. Coming from college to the NBA, I mean, huge difference in play. It's a lot quicker, it's a lot harder, it's definitely a lot more tough. So when you're transitioning from that, it does take a couple of years. Being a Denver Nuggets fan, the past couple of years, our defense has been the worst in the league. And coming off last season, it was one of the best. All they've been doing is running it with the same guys. They're going from, 19 and 20 to now 23 and 24 in just a couple seasons under their belts. No coaching staff changes or anything. They've just been able to build off their defense and come back with a better season every year.
Exactly, because part of defense sometimes is just understanding what your teammate's going to do.
Right.
Are they going to switch? Do you know when they're going to switch or not? Kind of stuff. And when you have a young team that builds together like Denver did, it's easier to kind of accrue that over the years. That's where we talk about that chemistry factor.
Right. Bringing it to my next point.
Oh no, I think I was supposed to go.
Oh, that was right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Or we just trim it.
Scratch that.
Scratch
All right,
that.
So, finishing up with the Atlanta Hawks. What you got next for us, Kyle?
So, also keeping in the same vein, young team going to be hunting for the playoffs next year. I got the Dallas Mavericks. So I think with like the Oklahoma City Thunder going into a rebuild, that opens up a playoff spot in the West. And I think the Dallas Mavericks, with reigning Rookie of the Year Luka Doncic and prized big man Kristaps Porzingis, I think they can make a really, really good push for it. I mean, we saw Doncic last year. I mean, for as good as Trae Young was, it didn't take long into the season to realize Doncic was going to be the Rookie of the Year. And near the end of the season, they kind of went into the stealth tank to try to accrue maybe a bit more. But I think this year they're going to go fully into it, try to fight for a playoff seed. And between Doncic and Porzingis and everybody else they got on there, I think they can make it.
Right. Definitely not underrating the Mavericks, but also don't underestimate the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got a lot of the Clippers bench, which was an impeccable depth. Probably what made their team so great last season and made them slide into the 8th seed and make the Warriors fight for it in the first round.
That they did.
Acquiring Chris Paul, seasoned vet, the point guard. They got Danilo Gallinari, former Nugget of mine. I loved him when he ran with us. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they didn't get nothing from that swap. So I'm definitely not underestimating the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I do see what you're saying with Dallas. They can definitely make a run for the postseason next season. But the problem with that in the West is
so many teams.
Almost anyone can.
I mean, the Kings are going to be in the mix for that as well, most definitely.
Right.
Or maybe even the Pelicans.
Exactly. Which brings me to my next point, is the Houston Rockets. We know for sure is definitely going to finish among the top seeds in the West. I think Harden and Westbrook are going to have a better chemistry than CP3 did with him. Mike D'Antoni's offense is definitely going to make them a powerhouse during the regular season, but I don't see them making it to the Western Conference Finals.
And why do you think that exactly?
Just a history with Mike D'Antoni's offense, being a powerhouse in the regular season, and then in the postseason, it's just teams have to grind out wins in the postseason. It's just a completely different animal, and that just seems like something they have not mastered. And I know they will have a better chemistry in the backcourt with Harden and Westbrook, but I mean, look at Westbrook and what he did with Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, they didn't make it to the Western Conference Finals since Kevin Durant left.
No, they didn't even make it out of the first round.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm actually in complete agreement with you on that. Harden, he has had a habit over the last few years of just kind of pushing himself too much in the regular season.
Right.
And then he just kind of burns out in the playoffs a little bit. And then with Westbrook, I mean, we've seen over the last few years there's been a growing divide between how the regular season is played and how the playoffs are played.
Yeah.
And one of the sacrifices or casualties of that has been Russell Westbrook. His play still works really well in the regular season. It just doesn't seem to translate in the playoffs. It's too inefficient. He commandeers possessions too much. And like you point out, I think they can get through the first round just through sheer talent, but I can see in the second round Westbrook starting to become more of a liability than an asset, and that's what puts the ceiling on him.
And it's odd because they do have the talent. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in the NBA. They do have the talent. It's just there's this undescribable X factor that just has them troubled in the postseason. I just don't know what it is.
Well, sometimes it's injuries. So you think a few years when they were pushing the Warriors, it was bad injuries. Last year, what was last year mainly? Yeah, no, same thing. They just couldn't get over the Warriors.
Right. And with the Warriors disbanding their dynasty kind of in the West, Klay Thompson's going to be out substantially with the ankle injury, and Kevin Durant leading for the Brooklyn Nets. It's just I wouldn't say it made the West open, but it made the West still equally as difficult. There's just not one big elephant in the room.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody in the West is all working together to clobber one guy. It's an arms race at the moment. So, kind of over on my side, going back over to the East, I have the Philadelphia 76ers making the 1 seed heading into the playoffs, but not making the finals. I think the Eastern Conference Finals is about their ceiling.
Right.
My rationale for this thinking, though, is in the East, you can pretty comfortably say that the first seed's probably going to be either Milwaukee or the 76ers. I think with Milwaukee, their approach this year will maybe more along the lines of, let's try to just rest Giannis a bit more, make sure we're ready for the playoffs, and try to slide in with a comfortable 2. Whereas I think Philadelphia is really built to be an amazing regular season team.
Right.
With all the size they have on the front lineup. I mean, Josh Richardson, the shooting guard, is 6'6" and the smallest guy in their starting lineup.
Right.
So they can definitely succeed in the regular season. The question is going to be in the playoffs, especially when you get to Eastern Conference Finals. How well is Joel Embiid's health going to be, and how much of a liability is Ben Simmons' lack of a jumper? And those are the big things that make me think Eastern Conference Finals is going to be their ceiling.
Right. Because I don't disagree with you there, but that is the X factors. They could be a good team. They can be a great team. They can be the team to make it to the finals. In my opinion, it's just how healthy is Joel Embiid going to be this year? Did Ben Simmons actually develop a jumper? We've seen videos of him during the off season where he's draining threes and all these gym videos. But I mean, Melo did the same thing, and currently he's in a tough spot with landing on a team. But we've seen that from him the past couple of seasons when he was with the Knicks or the Thunder or the Rockets, and you just can't really trust those kind of videos.
Yeah, everybody looks good in the offseason, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And they did have some notable departures. They did have J.J. Redick leave, but a big piece that joined them and definitely took me by surprise, Al Horford.
Absolutely.
I saw Al Horford being a starter for a team for at least a couple more seasons. So for him to accept a bench role behind Joel Embiid, I don't know if that means they're going to limit Joel Embiid and maybe in hopes of limiting the opportunity for him to get an injury or at least having a more rest. But Al Horford as a backup, it's great to have him as a starter. So
yeah.
The depth that they're getting at the big man position really puts him in position to make a decent run for the finals this year.
Well, I think the 76ers, what they're actually trying to do is they're trying to see if Horford can play the power forward position and play alongside Embiid. What do you think on that? Do you think that's a possibility?
They're two really big guys. And being a Denver fan, I've seen them try to make it work. With Jokic, it can work because he is a point center.
Yeah, exactly. He can play on the perimeter.
Horford is similar. Horford is a playmaking center. Not to the point of which Jokic has really tried to master his craft, but in the point to where the ball is safe in Horford's hands. He can play on ball. It's just how they utilize Joel Embiid next to him, because I think they would slide Horford in at the power forward position. It's how Joel Embiid plays next to him would be the X factor. But I could definitely see them doing it for sure. And having a big man lineup,
yeah. So Tobias Harris would drop to the 3.
You could put Tobias at the 2. You can put Richardson at point guard, Ben Simmons at the 3, Horford at 4, Embiid at 5. That's
huge.
That's the Monstars right there. That should be the lineup for Space Jam 2 right there.
Agreed, completely.
Which that goes into my bold prediction was that the 76ers were going to make it to the finals. But again, that goes back on, can Embiid stay healthy? Did Ben Simmons develop a jumper? Can the Horford and Embiid duo work out? All those questions. So that's what we're here for. That's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Bold prediction. So I'm going out on a limb and saying if all those things are true and if all those things can stay in their favor, they can easily go to the finals.
Nice. No, I completely agree. Yeah, there are a lot of questions, which is what makes me personally a little hesitant. But completely, if all those are yes, Did Ben Simmons get a jumper? Yes. Did Joel Embiid stay healthy? Yes. Can Horford and them play together? Yes. If that's the case, then yeah, you could argue they'd be the clear favorites, even over the Bucks.
Right. Which, I guess since we kind of had the same bold prediction there, I'll go with my next one, which is a big X factor in the East is the Indiana Pacers. Without Victor Oladipo, they still looked tough in the playoffs. They still made a tough postseason run. So imagine, they're running with the same crew over. They're getting Victor Oladipo back. They're going to be a scary team next year, and I think they can finish a top 4 seed or higher.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah, I know. Probably if you just looked at the playoff record last year, they did technically get swept by the Celtics. But if you actually watch the games, those were 4 very close games that could have just as easily swung the other way, and they could have swept the Celtics 4-0.
Right.
It was literally all those were that close.
Victor Oladipo has that mindset. He can go out there and he can close games.
Mm-hmm.
He can go out there and he can drop 30 a night. He can do that.
Oh yeah.
And with that absence that they had in the postseason, that's what, in my opinion, what made it close. So with him having it on that team, finishing in a top 4, maybe even getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, I can see it.
I completely agree. My only concern is just how well they do without Oladipo. I completely believe that when he comes back, they'll make a really good run at the end of the season to try to climb up in the standings, if not already up there. It's just going to be the question of how they do until then. And I know they lost Bogdanovich, unfortunately, in the free agency, but they did pick up Malcolm Brogdon as well, who looked really good in the playoffs and joined the 50-40-90 club after last season.
Right.
So they have enough talent to push just like they did last year. And then I think when they get Oladipo back, that could be the final push to get them, like you're saying, to a top 4 seed.
Of course.
So for me, speaking around the top 4 seed, my next bold prediction is for the Los Angeles Lakers. I actually do not see them being a top 4 seed in the West next year.
I'm glad you do, because as a Western Conference watcher myself, I can't stand the Lakers. I can't stand the Lakers, and I know I'm going to get attacked for it because they're such a big media team. They're so heavily mediated. Everyone's rooting for the Lakers. There's this mass hysteria that they're going to be the best team next year and everything. Down with the Warriors, and they got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and they're going to rule the West. I just don't see it.
No.
They got rid of their entire depth to get Anthony Davis, and who did they get in return?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The keyword there was depth, which is where I'm pointing at. Because, yes, they do have, they have, the top end is there. LeBron James, Anthony Davis. You could maybe argue they're top 5. At least they're both top 10. But depth is really the issue, because regular season, you need some depth. We saw LeBron James get his first major injury last season. Anthony Davis is always known, and even then with LeBron, he's going to do some load management near the end of the season.
Anthony Davis hasn't had a full healthy season in like the last three or four seasons.
Exactly, yeah. So Anthony Davis might be chipped up. So I'm just looking at this, and with the lack of depth,
DeMarcus Cousins, who's on again another really bad injury.
Yep.
Dwight Howard. The dude hasn't had a healthy back since he left Orlando.
Exactly. So I just don't see the depth to get them to a top 4. I see them maybe like right around the All-Star break or later, just going, hey, LeBron will probably be like, hey, let's just get in, and then we'll try to make noise then.
And I definitely know they were depending on a big free agent signing. It wasn't just Anthony Davis.
Yes.
They were looking for someone to at least help in the backcourt, and it didn't happen. So now they're like, well, it's fine. We still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. But, I know there's memes going around of Alex Caruso saving this team, but let's be honest here.
Or Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah. Again, they can go with the big man lineup. I can see it happening, but it's just, let's be real here. The real people who are going to win LA is definitely going to be the Clippers.
Yup. I don't think we've ever seen a wing pairing like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George.
And they still, even though they got rid of some valuable assets to Oklahoma, they still have the bench depth.
Exactly. No, yeah, I would bet everything on the Clippers. My question would be, all right, they limp in and they're a lower 4 seed. Just how well they're going to do in the playoffs. I still can't tell that yet.
Right.
What you got next?
Staying in the West, I gotta represent my Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is gonna finish second in MVP voting.
Ooh, all right. How do we get there?
An even bolder prediction, which I want to go with, which is in my heart, is that he'll win MVP. But I'm just being real here. I don't think he will. Mainly on the media. But I think his stats will speak for himself and actually land him into the top three. In my opinion, he should have finished top three last season and was edged out just barely by Paul George. Because Paul George, not going to lie, he had a spectacular start to his season. But that's the thing. It was the start of the season. I mean, he was out for a couple games, returned back, and he just wasn't back to his in MVP form. I'm not sure how he got into the three over Jokic, especially Jokic's display during the postseason. And I know it's not based off the postseason, but he really didn't get his name recognized until the postseason. This was the first time that Nuggets games were nationally televised, and people were starting to learn, holy crap, there's a 7-foot point guard in the Mile High City, and he's this big pudgy Michelin tire man looking guy. And
he's a riot to watch.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't look like the Magic Johnson of centers. He just doesn't look like that. But when you watch his play style, I mean, the things he does, averaging 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists, like, that's unheard of for a center. Like, it just doesn't happen. I mean, sure, you got centers that are averaging 25 and 15, but, like, a couple rebounds. This guy literally brings the ball up the court and starts out the plays on the top of the key. Like, he's looking for cutters. He's the one initiating pick and rolls with his other center that's on the court. And I know he's got to beat out Giannis. He's got to beat out James Harden. And those guys just pour on the points. 35 points per game, outrageous athleticism. I could see why. I'm not butthurt that he didn't finish with an MVP trophy at the end of the season, but I could see him now gaining more media attention to finish at least in the top two.
Yeah, and to build on that, I think one of the big things you pointed out was the postseason.
Right.
So I think some of the trepidation last year, I mean, like, obviously he played so well, you had to put him on an MVP, at least top 5. He was seriously that good if you were watching or paying attention to basketball. But I think there was some hesitation in terms of, well, we haven't seen this in the postseason, which is weird because, this is a regular season award, postseason is supposed to matter. Right. But postseason kind of helps you go into the season knowing who the big players are. Yeah. And I think last season was really great for putting him on that map.
So now he definitely has more eyes on him coming into this next season because of the recognition he got from the postseason.
Exactly. So the media
nationally televised games they had during the regular season. I mean, one of them, they had Kevin Harlan. I don't remember which TV station broadcasted it, but he hit a game winner against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a neck-and-neck game. Luka Doncic just landed a slam dunk in, 4 seconds left on the clock, passed it in. Jokic, tough hook shot. A lot of contest there, bodied up against, and just effortlessly soft hand around the rim. Nothing but net.
No, when
Kevin
he
Harlan
came,
was crazy.
yeah. But when the Nuggets came to the Miami Heat, I remember he beat us off this, the most herky-jerky floater.
Yeah.
It just barely went over Bam.
It doesn't look natural, but it works.
It does.
And, with that recognition, our team's going to come at the Denver Nuggets a little differently this season. Yes.
Well, that's
but
good.
With Jamal Murray signing a new 5-year extension, with them running with practically the same squad that they've been running with for the last couple of years, that's going to help. You can't get worse with running with the same people, in my opinion, because they're growing together with team chemistry. They're running with the same coaching staff. They know what they need to do at the start of this next season. I think they're going to come running out of the gates, and I think it's just going to be a dogfight in the West.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, they finished second in the West, and I think they did that on purpose because they sat some players at the end and they wanted to manipulate the postseason bracket. But it's really going to be a dogfight in the West. But I think, unbeknownst to other people's beliefs, because of all the media attention with the Clippers and the Lakers, I still think the Denver Nuggets are going to they're going to have an MVP caliber player on their team that will make them probably second again in the West.
Oh, I could definitely see. I could see second or first. So my last bold prediction, going back over to the East, is my own personal team, the Miami Heat. I think they can legitimately make a fight for the 3 seed. So, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Philadelphia 76ers and Milwaukee Bucks seem like pretty clear 1-2. I can almost definitively say they'll be better. But really, when you look at the 3rd seed, there's a lot of teams that can really be up for grabs. And my argument for the Heat would be, our big addition this summer was Jimmy Butler. But one of the things that we've lacked for the last few years, ever since LeBron left us, is that kind of clear go-to alpha that we can build the team around. And especially last year, we tried to do that around Josh Richardson. As much as I like Richardson, he just seemed to plateau, which hence why we had such a trouble making the playoffs. But with this year, we had Jimmy Butler. We've shipped out Hassan Whiteside. So we have Bam Adebayo starting. Hopefully we'll have Winslow continuing at point guard. Dion Waiters, the GOATs, head of Dion Waiters Island, looks in superb shape. He's looking to try to make a bounce back breakout season, whatever you want to call it. So I think the pieces are legitimately there. And then you look at the competition. Indiana Pacers without Oladipo for a while. Celtics, how do they look post Orford and Kyrie? Nets, how do they look without Durant and just Irving? There's still questions on everybody 3 and below, and if everything breaks right for Miami, they can make that.
This upcoming season is definitely going to be one of the most balanced it's been in a while. And it's weird because, Avengers Endgame just came out,
Exactly.
So, balanced just as everything should be. It's weird. It's almost like the snap affected the league. You have people, big dynasties broken up out west, moving east. You got people from the east moving out west. And this has been the most even balanced playing field I've seen in the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. Ever since the start of the Big 3 era, and I would say maybe around this, if you want to go earliest, the Celtics in 07, 08.
Right.
We've always had a Big 3 of some kind ever since then.
Exactly.
So now I'm in complete agreement with you. This feels, this is one of the things that makes the NFL so exciting. There's a sense of parity in the league that anybody can really make it. And for the first time in a long time, we have that same feeling in the NBA, which is going to make it even more fun to watch.
Right. Instead of one team having a Big 3, you have almost every team having a dynamic duo.
Yeah.
You got up in Portland, you got Dame and CJ. LA, you got Paul George and Kawhi, LeBron and AD, and it's just the list goes on and on. Everyone moved. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in the Nets. It's just everything's as it should be. Everything's balanced.
Yes. So, what do you think about the Heat though, making a fight for the 3rd?
I can see it. I really liked the pickup you guys had in the draft this year. Also, thanks for Bobo.
Hope he does good for you.
Yeah, I bet y'all will appreciate the cash we gave y'all.
Yes, we do like money.
No, I can definitely see it. I think Jimmy Butler needed to get away from the 76ers because he needed a team where he can be that definitive lead role. And I think Miami Heat, watching the Miami Heat that I did last year, it just didn't look like you guys had an alpha dog mentality. You guys were a great squad. Y'all ran great team basketball, but there just wasn't that one guy to take the shot. There wasn't that one guy to really be the face. And I think Jimmy Butler can be that.
Yeah, Wade would do it in spurts, but he was on his retirement tour last year. So exactly, but that was all we ever talked about last year. Is we need an alpha, and we got an alpha now.
Yep. And I don't think Jimmy Butler will be the permanent answer for that, but for him holding that spot, I can definitely see it.
Going to be a scrappy team next year.
Right.
What do you got? You got anything to close out?
Yeah. My last bold prediction. The finals for the 1920 season is going to be between the Denver Nuggets and the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's going to be a fun one. All right. So you already talked about...
I'm not going to say who's going to win.
No, you already... So you made the point for the 76ers earlier, so let's do it for the Nuggets.
So for the Nuggets, record on repeat. They got the same squad Everyone knows their role. Really, the only notable additions they're getting is Jeremy Grant from the Oklahoma City Thunder. And Jeremy Grant didn't really look at his game until we picked him up. The dude's a solid role player. Really didn't start working on his three-point shooting until last season, which he bumped up to 36%. But a corner 3 and D player is what the Nuggets need at the small forward position, and like that's perfect. He's a solid small forward that we've needed for quite some time. But not only that, but we also have Michael Porter Jr. coming off his redshirt rookie season, so he's going to be a real rookie this year. And having sat in and watched how the Nuggets run things, how they do things, report just the other day came in, he's fully healthy. He is the healthiest he's been since he was a number 1 prospect coming out of high school. ESPN came out and said, who's a draft pick that's going to outperform what number they were drafted at? He was picked up at number, it was either 13 or 14.
Yeah, exactly. You take the flyer because he's injured.
They have him performing as a first overall pick. He has such raw, untapped potential. He can fit that mold, and rumors are even going around that he could be the best shooter on the Nuggets squad. And this is with Jamal Murray. Just inked a 5-year deal with the Nuggets. He can be a breakout All-Star season next year. He can make the All-Star game, I think. Then you got Gary Harris. Didn't play much last year, but he's their solid scoring defender, 2-guard. He can guard anyone in the league. He can do it. Small forward, interesting, but they got Will Barton, which I think might change during the season. But Will Barton, they don't call him Will the Thrill for nothing. He's going to go out there. He's going to play as hard as he can be. He's going to score. He's going to do everything he possibly can to win the game. Paul Millsap's on his last season in his contract, but he's a solid vet. Ever since signing him, defense went up. He goes out there, he's vocal. He shows the young guys where they need to go, what they need to do, how they need to position themselves. And he's been a solid player on the offense as well. He's hit a couple game winners himself. He really goes out there with his tenacity. And I think he plays younger than his age at 34. I mean, he goes out there and plays like he's still 30 years old. But, of course, on his decline. And, of course, the big man, Serbian sensation, Big Honey, Nikola Jokic, the Joker. I mean, this guy every year is an improvement. His numbers are going up. His points per game, his assists, his rebounds. Last year when you think it's crazy to think that this guy averaged 20, 11, and 8, it's like, okay. But then you tell them he's a 7-foot pudgy Serbian center, and you're like, whoa. And then you're looking at the bench depth. They definitely took a page out of the Warriors when they were learning to acquire players through the draft. So the Warriors, 2008, 2009, 2010, started picking up solid draft picks in Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Curry. They didn't acquire those players through free agency. They drafted homegrown talent to make their dynasty. And that's what the Nuggets did. That's what they're currently doing. They drafted Jokic, Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, all those guys. And then when you look at the bench, they also drafted their bench. They got Malik Beasley. Malik Beasley, I thought, should have won Most Improved Player last year. Didn't earn starters minutes, but when he went out there with the bench unit, he's dropping threes. He's nuking dunks. It's incredible what he's turned into. And he just recently signed with Rich Paul, his team over at Clutch Management. So he's up there with the big dogs with like LeBron and them. So definitely expecting great things from him next year negotiations are going on right now, but next year being his contract year. Juancho Hernan-Gomez, like a stretch 4 who just won a gold medal with Spain for the FIBA World Cup. Mason Plumlee, I think the second best passing big in the league, who just so happens to be the backup center. This Denver Nuggets squad, nothing's
stacked,
and they're not changing anything. They didn't have to worry about changing the game plan or adding new players or worrying about what the rest of the free agents are doing. And with the West being as balanced as it's ever been, I think they're in the best position to make a regular season and postseason run.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Yeah, as you listed out, they're just about every position they're covered. I think with the additions of Jeremy Grant and hopefully with Michael Porter Jr. coming back, that's going to help boost up some of the defense and offense as well. Mainly more for the postseason because Jeremy Grant has that versatility.
Right.
And then he also is going to give you all another shooter. And really just, I think last season was really good for experience-wise.
Right.
So they now know, like, hey, we can go in a playoff series and win these games.
Absolutely.
We can advance. They were just, a handful of possessions from going to the Western Conference Final last year. So if you build on that, which they're, like you said, they're one of the youngest teams in the league, they can. Finals should definitely be within reach.
They were the youngest squad to make the second seed in NBA history. The youngest. And they were the 8th youngest playoff squad ever. And so when you look at that, the past 3 seasons, the first 2, they did not make the playoffs. They missed the playoffs by 1 or 2 games. Last season, 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, because that was when you had the Minnesota Timberwolves playoff game at the end of the season.
It came down to the final game. And the fact is, if they would have won that game, they wouldn't have slid into the 8th seed. They had tiebreakers against the 8th
gotcha.
and the 7th. They would have been the 6th seed if they just won that one game.
Which that would have been Portland that year.
Right. I mean,
So
when you have and the year before that, they missed the playoffs by like 3 or 4 games when they got eliminated by that Westbrook half-court shot, which, I mean, I hate bringing it up, but it happened. I mean, all that is just fuel for the fire. So, like, that happens. They come back next year, then they miss it by 1 game. Actually, they missed it by, like, overtime. They went into overtime and then lost. So they were in overtime away from making the playoffs. Then the next season, which is last season, these guys not even sweating about it. They come out of the gate running. They come for that postseason, and they make it to, I mean, like you said, a couple possessions away from the Western Conference Finals. And
shoot, I would have argued they would have done better against the Warriors than the Trailblazers did.
Exactly. And again, it is a young team. They're going to make mistakes. Watching that 7-game series, I mean, one of the games where it went into like 3 overtimes. I mean, like, they held on there. For a young squad, they can do it. I think they can take it all the way next season.
I think, the Spurs series for me was the big one because
that was the learning curve.
You learn so much when you play the Spurs about who you are and what you can do because Popovich is just such a master schemer. It's hard to beat them, and you could almost see the progression throughout that series of them figuring out what they needed to do.
And it was one of those situations where you better learn, and you better learn quickly.
Yeah, because the Spurs will knock you out.
Yeah, it was their first playoff appearance in forever, and it just so happens to be the Spurs. And I know the Spurs were the 7th seed, but like it's a tough 7th seed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was probably the toughest of the lower seeds.
Exactly.
But I'm in agreement with you, though. I can definitely see the Nuggets making the finals.
Right.
Do you have anything else to close out with?
I'm excited about this upcoming season. It's so friggin' long. I have to wait. I have to watch football.
Oh no. Football's not bad. It does kill the time.
I do like football, yeah. It's college and professional, but it's not basketball.
I know.
It's not.
Honestly, like one of my favorite things about the beginning of football season is knowing that basketball isn't much further behind.
Well, it's like football is like your favorite show. You have to, when you catch up on it, you have to wait an entire week to watch the new episode.
Mm-hmm.
So like with basketball, it's just like it's every night. Like you just turn on and watch basketball every day. It's great. 82 games.
Oh yeah, plus 6 months. Seasons go longer too.
No.
But
in the postseason, oh my god, I miss basketball, man. I miss it.
We got a little bit less than a month to go.
I know. I'm excited.
I'm excited as well. I think it's going to be great seasons for both of our teams.
Absolutely. And signing off for today's podcast, Blake Kimple, Kyle Russell. See you next time.